You know those entrepreneurs, yeah, that have Fortune 500 companies that are employing thousands of people? They know that it's not about them. It gets to a stage, it's not even about them no more. They've got people relying on them. They have to they might not feel like getting up in the morning. They have to get up. They have to get up.
Yeah. Oh, it's mad.
They have to get up. They've got responsibility now. Welcome to another episode of Dads Divulge, where we discuss fatherhood, relationships, and everything in between. Today, we're joined again by Ads. Ads, how's it going, bro?
Look, hey, it's a pleasure to be back. Twice on the show. It's just something's happening. So, thank you for inviting me back, man.
No, we appreciate having you, man. Let me just recap on what Ads is doing currently, in case anyone doesn't know. He's a program manager in financial services, founder of Circulate, which seeks to empower black men and the BAME community in the corporate world, co-founder of Mac Jonathan London, a bespoke suit company, music director at his church, Christ Church Tabernacle, father of two, Christ Faith.
Yeah,
put some respect on it. Christ Faith, father of two, and husband to one.
Trust me.
Stu, how's it going, man?
That's it. Welcome back, people. Yeah, I'm all good. Doing well. And Ads, welcome back. Your reputation precedes you, and that's why we got you back. And look, if you've not listened to our conflict episode, please listen to that. And then listen to this one straight after. That's what you need to go and do. I really touched on a lot of good points on that. So today we're going to talk about the importance of purpose, and this is a conversation me and Ryan have this all the time. We talk about this on many occasions. What are we doing? What are we here to do? What direction are we going in? And it might sound like it's a bit airy-fairy, but actually this is something that you really need to hone in on and understand. What is your identity? What is the things that you have don't make you. The job that you have doesn't make you. We're talking about what's your North Star, what you're walking towards, and how important it is, in the life that we're living now, to have something that your guiding principle, something that you're walking towards, something that you stand by, and something that you're doing for yourself. Me personally, I feel like without having a purpose, you're almost lost in the wind. You don't know what you don't know what you're doing. You're just here. Time is flying by. We've just gone through a pandemic. We're still in it, and we've lapped a year. Time you blink, it's 2022. Can you really believe that? What have you done in that time? This is about keeping each other accountable. This is about really seeing where we're going in life and what can we do to kind of make those steps further. Life is hard, right? And all kinds of obstacles fly in your direction, but don't let that take you off of your path. If you haven't got a path, listen in. We're going to talk about it today. So straight into the hot seat. Ads, talk to us. Talk to us about what purpose means for you. What's your meaning of it? And take it away.
Yeah, do you know what? This topic is dear to me, 100%. Because I believe purpose is the one thing that as human beings can keep us going. And so there's many things that happen, right, in our lives. Some that we know, some that cause uncertainty. We plan. Some of the things we plan go to plan. Some of them go off script. And the one thing that can kind of keep us moving forward is if we have, like you called out, a North Star and a purpose. Even in a situation where you elevated through all the bad, you now get to a point where you're faced with good and good. And so you have to make a choice as to which good is best for you. And so actually that can only be navigated with properly if you have purpose. And so what is purpose, or what is my view of purpose? So purpose is the one thing which you were created to do, or the things that you were created to do as a human being. That's it for me. It's the basis, right? What's the purpose of a fork? To feed, right? And how frustrating would it be if you're trying to use a bottle opener to eat spaghetti? It's crazy to me, isn't it? Like, you're using something that is not made for that purpose. Or you're trying to use, although you can probably do it, by trying to use a knife to start your car, innit? It's crazy, innit? As much as you might think you could fit in the hole, that's not the purpose, innit? And so, you know, the one thing that you're created, or the things that you're created to do, for me, is for purpose. And you know what's even much, and I'll probably end it here so that we can carry on. The one thing that purpose is really about is that your purpose is for other people. That's the mad thing that I've discovered recently. Your purpose is not for yourself, because a fork has no use for itself. Its purpose is for other people. The car, although it can drive, it doesn't benefit itself to drive. It benefits the driver, in it. And so when you think of it like that, you know, or water, you know, the water can't benefit itself, but when we drink it, it quenches our thirst. Your purpose is for your community, your family, the people that you're around. And so when you identify exactly what you are and what you're made for, what you're made to do, everything you do and you encounter in life then has a function to play out, because it's trying to basically fulfill a purpose. And I hope that kind of comes through clearly.
Absolutely, man. I think you're spot on. Yeah. You're spot on with that. I mean, there's an author and a speaker called Jordan Peterson who talks about one of the many ways to become fulfilled in life is to take on more responsibility. And the way I interpret that is to, as you said, to take on things for yourself, not just for yourself, but to help other people in life, to move other people forward. And I think ultimately, whether that's ranging from creating a product that helps people out in their everyday life, doing charity work, or whether that purpose you may feel is your family or your kids, or bringing up your kids, I feel like you have to have that in place to be able to go from day to day and just not drop down and just give up. Because as Stu touched on, life is hard enough. And how do you, I think a lot of studies show that men who commit suicide, men who decide to take them, not just men and women, but men more predominantly, that take their life, seem to have no sense of purpose, or think they have no sense of purpose or importance on this earth. And that purpose, as Stu said, is your North Star. It's like a rope. You've got a rope, you've tied it to the star, you've tied it to yourself. And that's pulling you through. That's pulling you through each and every day. And Ads, how do you think we should go about finding it? Because I think with women, it's much easier, because naturally, most of them tie their purpose to their children. They have children, and then they feel like there's that bond between them and the child. It feels like, you know what, this is why I'm here. This is why I've been put on earth, to take care of you and to raise you. But with men, it's a bit different, because not all men have that same connection with their children. So how do you think men go about finding their purpose?
It's a bit of a chicken and egg one, you know, because, so talking about men in the family context, we're talking about dads, innit? How do you find your purpose as a dad, right? So I went on a journey over 3 years, basically, trying to really find my purpose in life, but also it's my consideration that if I found my purpose in life, it will then sort out all the other things I have, because it will all link to that. So purpose as a dad, purpose as in my work, purpose like in my church and everything else. If I can find that one thing that, you know, I'm definitely called to do, then that will sort of inform the other functions that I'm in. So there was a dissatisfaction. So how did I go about? Because I can only talk about my experience, right? There was a dissatisfaction that I just had as a bedrock by just not feeling like I was doing what I was supposed to, right? I don't know if maybe other men or other, you know, people identify with this, but when all is said and done and you're lying in your bed, there's just this even if you got all the money in the world, or you got all your friends around, whatever, there's just this one thing that can really just be not like a woodpecker, just what is my purpose? Yeah. And so for me, I was just like, nah, like I definitely, especially like when you get older now, I'm coming to the age where like whatever I'm doing needs to have impact and purpose. Like I can't just be figuring it out every single day, and then you get to the end of that line, it's like, oh, what's next? Like I definitely need to just be ahead of the game. Like I wanted to be ahead. And I think I also got to the point where I was just like doing so many different things at the same time and just saying yes to everything. And I was just like, do you know what? That all needs to stop. So I just got comfortable with just saying no. So the first thing I did was look at my values. I looked at, okay, what do I value in life? And so, okay, if I wanted to put my values in priority, what's the top 5 values I've got? So I started looking, and I'm just talking you through my process, by the way. I wouldn't say this necessarily how everyone else does it, but maybe someone can learn from it. So I said, all right, cool. So definitely my faith is number one. Like my faith in God is there, in it. And then I say I value family. So what does that actually mean? Like if I say, okay, family is next, I'm saying, and then after family, then comes like vocation, work, and everything else, like maybe church and stuff. And so when I started putting those values in place, right, I started to then prioritize my life in that way. Like if you weren't in those values, you couldn't I was happy to say no to you. I was happy to just be like, I'm not doing that. And it started to like cut down the activities that I was in. I wasn't just everywhere, anywhere, doing anything, to the point where like I naturally like literally stripped everything down. And it was just like the bare minimum of like what I consider my core values. And then I started to think, okay, so like what is my real purpose? And so I had this complex of always helping people kind of get on in what they want to do, but never having my thing, never having like the thing that I call mine sort of thing. But I'm fantastic at helping other people. And then it dawned upon me in my pursuit of purpose that is what you're supposed to do. And so, I'll go as far as to say, it was an epiphany from God to say, look, this is what I've created you to do, to be a helper to many others. Why? Because number one, you thrive in it. I've given you that ability. Those are the abilities you have. You do it effortlessly. People benefit from it. Number two, you enjoy it. There's a gratification and a satisfaction that comes to you that money can never give you, that, no human being can ever give you. That satisfaction that you get from doing this piece of helping people is amazing. And then I looked at, and I think this was key. So whilst through my faith, there's this concept called Ikigai. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I've read the book, yeah.
Mate, when I tell you, yeah, like mind blowing in the way that it breaks down how the various different circles. If no one's understood it, read it before, Ikigai, I think Ikigai. Mate, if you're in pursuit of purpose, or you're ever looking for like, what am I supposed to do? Have a crack at that book, and it will get you started on the right journey as to your why. And so for me, doing all these things and the hardcore pursuit of purpose navigated me towards what I consider me discovering my purpose. And so there has to be an enjoyment in, or a satisfaction, or a peace in what you consider what your purpose is. Like if you're claiming this is your purpose, but you don't have peace of it, I would question that. And when I say peace, what I mean is like, even if things are challenging, even if it's hard, even if it's like the world's against you, but you have an inside peace knowing that this is what I'm supposed to do, that can be an indication as to maybe what your purpose is. Because the seasons you go through are momentary, right? They're never permanent. So you might have a good day, you might have a bad day, and then the emotions that we go through are all emotions that can change. But if you always have a bedrock of peace and an understanding of your purpose, that will help you navigate through challenging times. A footballer who goes through training and it's hard, he might have an injury, he might break his leg. In his pursuit of purpose, can go through those hard times, although difficult, knowing that this is what I'm supposed to do. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I think if you don't have a purpose, life gets frustrating because you're like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Do you know, like, it's just long, isn't it? I don't know what you think. What do you guys think?
I think what you're saying is true, but I think we should all understand that we might never know our real purpose until we're 80, 70, 80. It doesn't mean because we believe right now that this is our purpose, that it's actually our purpose. But I feel like we need to not be afraid to try things. If if you feel like that's your purpose, try it. And that may lead you to something else. And I think everything you try, everything you take on is a stepping stone towards your actual purpose. So there's a quote from a book that me and Stuart really like, which is called The Superior Man by David Dada. And he says in it, each purpose, each mission is meant to be fully lived to the point where it becomes empty, boring, and useless. Then it should be discarded. This is a sign of growth, but you may mistake it for a sign of failure. So, go on, Stu.
Basically working on something endlessly, tirelessly until it's done, until you're done with it, until you've fulfilled it completely, and then you start again, and then you carry on, and you do it again, and you do it again and again. And I think that joins on nicely to what you're saying around, we may not know what it is right now, it may be later on in life, but actually if you don't try something and stick with it, and if you don't try something and actually pursue it, if you don't try and complete it, the whole idea, life is not something you can complete. It's a bit of a wake-up call to a lot of people, but
this is it.
You can't complete life. Call of Duty you can complete. And even then, probably now, you probably can't complete, I haven't played it for years, but you probably can't complete Call of Duty right now, but because it's probably endless worlds and all this type of stuff. But life is something that you can't complete. So actually, whilst we're here, we should really be thinking about, how do we fill this life with things that are going to be meaningful, bring you some kind of joy, some kind of challenge, and the reason you need to think about it is, look around you, wherever you're listening to this or watching this, look around you. Everything around you has been made. Yeah, it's been made, or you're using a piece of technology that's been made. Somebody has pursued something to the endless depth to get it there. Think about a plane. People couldn't fly at one point. Somebody pursued that idea until the end, until the first plane took off, and it probably dropped. But they did it again, and they did it again, and then people fine-tuned it, and then people made it better. That's how this whole world has been. That's how this world spins. And just take a piece of that idea and put it into your own life. Really, what is it you can do and complete in your own little mini way to make your world spin in the right direction at the right speed for you. That's what it really comes down to. And really, when you think about it, right, you touched on the kind of like suicide and male depression. Those type of things are absolute real things. They shouldn't be misunderstood as a sign of weakness. They shouldn't be misunderstood as he just couldn't hack it. He's one of the weaklings. This is a puzzle in the mind that ultimately breaks a lot of men to the point they see the nearest train and they jump and try and hug it. That's what they try and do, and they try to end it because this kind of rat race and this maze they've got in their head, they can't get to the meaty part of it, the bit which is trying to give them some kind of
They struggle to attach themselves to a cause
they struggle.
That's bigger than themselves.
That's it. They struggle massively, and when that realization hits them, they decide actually that's not for me. And what we're trying to promote and say is that is life. That life is full of a struggle. And I think Jordan Peterson also talks about actually life is struggle, but go through it, lean on it, go through it because there's more pleasure at the end of it. It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Do you know what? You just said something. Yeah, no, I was going to just piggyback off what Stu said. Right, and there's a scripture that comes to mind. It talks about the fact that it might sound weird, but it says rejoice, be happy in the struggles that you get, because in the struggles you know that you built perseverance, and when perseverance is finished this job, you built character. So what does it mean? It meant that the struggle of today, which you overcome tomorrow, you kind of got through that, right? And so whilst it was like, it might have been hard whilst you're doing it, you've got through that. You've learned something. You've now actually built character to the place where actually, like, if this comes around again, I'm fully handling this It's not going to sucker punch me. Do you understand? Like I'm fully on top of this. And the thing is as well, we don't necessarily like, there's a lot of analogies. You go gym, you pick up the same weight. The weight doesn't get lighter. You just,
get stronger.
You get stronger in it. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Like all of these nice fluffy cliches and stuff, like, yeah, it's great. But actually the reality of it is it's true. Like, how many times do I do something, practice makes better and better makes perfect is what I say in it. So the fact that we sometimes have to go through these struggles means that something good comes out from it. And I think obviously just like back to what you said, Stu, that and these adversities, what you find is a lot of innovation has come out from struggles, like when you think about all the innovations that people have made, they've all come from a struggle. And what I love is that no one who has been written about knew that they were going to write about them, nor did they do what they was doing to be written about. They did it genuinely to change their small world that they're in. Could be a small community. And so actually we have the advantage of reading them now. But what are we going to do in our small little communities that's going to be life-changing and leave a legacy as well, really? Do you understand? So, but yeah. Ryan, you're going to say something?
Do you think in some way to fully fulfill your purpose, you have to be selfish? Because I don't believe you can pour into others properly until your glass is full yourself. Seriously, I really don't. I think you have to, as family men, as men who have got brothers, sisters and whatnot, yes, you have to take time to make time for everything. But at the same time, do you think your North Star has to be, do you know what, I have to in some way be selfish and focus on myself so I can be the best version for the people around me?
So I would say the concept of what you're saying, I think is completely true. I always say to people, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you get in a plane, they're telling you, before you're trying to put an oxygen mask on your kids, put it on yourself, please, because you're useless without the mask in it. So I 100% believe in the concept of what you're saying. Whether I would use the term selfish, I don't know, but that's neither here or there. I think that's semantics. I think what you're really saying is like, if you don't take the time to be determined, block yourself up from all the noise around you to actually just do what you're doing, how can you actually fulfill your purpose? And it does take some self-awareness of who you need to block out. Certain times you have to do things that doesn't favor other people at that point in time. But that's all part of trying to fulfill, your purpose in order to help people, right? Eventually anyway. And so how selfish is it really? Because actually what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that you are who you're supposed to be in order that people can benefit from you in the long run. And actually, is that selfish? It might be selfish in the short term, but actually might be doing what you need to do in the long term for you to fulfill purpose. And I think, sometimes, as a dad, I just need to chill in the room by myself, man. like I don't need to hear anyone, man. Like, is that selfish? Maybe in that point in time. But if I don't take this 10 minutes now, it might be crazy for everyone for the rest of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what we're saying. You have to, you have to kind of carve out. I say it all the time, carve out time. And I don't know where I start. I don't know. I was trying to think why I started to use the term carve out time, but it's something I've been saying for a long time. And I do think it is about carving out time, because I think actually the time sometimes for some people is already predetermined. Like your work life is your work life, and actually some people can't see to the end of that. So how they consider time is actually anything but work. So you now got to say to yourself, right, how do I carve out a slice of that to do something, a slice of that to go and do the gym, a slice of that to go and deal with the kids and so on. And I think it is about carving it out. It's about saying, do you know what, this is something that's important to me. And either for my benefit or for the benefit of others. And that's where it gets to like the selfless part of it. Because you're basically saying, I'm going to go without for the benefit of other people. And I suppose some people are on that side of the spectrum where actually their purpose is to provide endlessly through a product, through a service, through advice, through help and so on. You have to kind of give up part of yourself to kind of get the job done.
No, me and Shu, we talk about this a lot, and it's like, for me personally, I definitely want to be the best father I can to my children, hands down. But would I say it's my purpose? I don't believe so. And for me, there's been times in my life, probably when I've been at my darkest moments, where I've got a beautiful family around me. If people are looking from the outside, they'll probably be like, what has he got to complain about? He's got a wife, he's got kids, whatnot. But as you said, as before, there's something inside you that just feels like there's more. There's more I can be getting out of myself. I know I've got my kids. I know I'm a good dad. I know all of this stuff. But that's not what I feel inside of me is why I'm here. Although some people, may disagree.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because I think sometimes that can be misunderstood as you're never satisfied. The kind of pursuit of more sometimes is linked to you're never content with what you've got and you always want more. And I think sometimes the fear of, we spoke about on the other episode about, giving a story or, trying to bring somebody on the journey with you, be it your partner, significant other, trying to bring them on the journey of why you're doing something. Sometimes those behaviors are misunderstood as, I don't know if I want to go on the journey this time, because you know what? Once he's actually achieved that, he's going to ask for something else, and he's going to want more. And it's hard to. It's a circular problem, isn't it? Yeah, it's a circular problem.
I think purpose is important though to establish in anything, and I only say that because it brings clarity. I think even like no one is even saying that. You find your real purpose, that's perfect. That's like amazing. You've stumbled across it. Fantastic. Your Steve Jobs, you made Apple, or your Bill Gates, you made Microsoft. Like amazing if you've stumbled across what you was made to do. But I also believe in being purposeful in what you do. And when I say that, what do I mean? Like, don't just do something for no reason. Like, there has to be, once again, it's back to this North Star. So if I'm grooming my kids in a particular way, it's because I have a purpose that I'm trying to achieve. If I am trying to better myself through further education, it's because I have a purpose that I'm trying to achieve. So why would I choose this course and this time over maybe something else? If I decided to take a step back in my career, and some people might see it as a backward step because I wanted to move into another career, learn a bit more, and then go up the ladder that way, I'm doing that because I have a purpose, right? And so sometimes purpose helps to kind of come out from the clouds of all the noise that people might say. Oh, why don't you do this? Why are you doing that? Do you understand? I don't know if you've experienced that before. You're trying to do something. People are like, no, I don't think that's the best thing for you. And everyone's got good intentions, but it might not work for me. And actually, it takes a real it takes a conscious person to ask the right questions rather than to tell you what to do. So you might say, oh, I want to do this. I'll be like, okay, so what's the reasoning behind that? John's there, like, obviously I'm not going to be selfish and be like, no, that's dead, man. I don't think you should do that. But I'll just genuinely be curious as to say, okay, like, talk to me about why you want to do some of this, because I think those are the tools that we can use on ourselves to establish purpose all the time. You want to do something, just sit down and talk to yourself and say, okay, why are you doing this? Say like, well, or what's the reason behind that?
Do you know what? Do you think that some men are afraid, or us as men in general, are afraid to say, I'm doing this for myself? Do you think, I think women can say, I need to do this for me. I need to do this for me. I need to have, but as soon as a man says, I'm doing this for me, sometimes it almost feels like, okay, he's being selfish now. Okay, he's gonna disregard all of his responsibilities and forget about us as soon as he says, I need to do something for me. When it's not that.
Yeah. You know what? It's fun. We spoke about this before as well. Right? This is this comes down to, and I don't know whether society has made this way, but I think, especially when you come to fathers, right? I think there is this kind of pre-cut configuration that you already have enough time to yourself. Does that make sense? Like you've already got enough time to yourself. So why are you now taking the piss? You know, why are you doing more? You know, and it's hard to shake that. I think we sometimes even play into it. You know, I think early stage, if you think back when you first have a child and whatever, the kind of first idea of, I'm going to go out Friday and Saturday. Yeah, that in the early stages, I think it can be a bit problematic, right? Because it's like, well, you've already got enough time. But actually, Monday to Friday, I'm working, as you were before this child was here. You know, and I'm not, for context, I'm not speaking about my wife here, but it's something I've heard. This is something I've heard as well, definitely. Yeah, I've got to throw that. I've got to throw that in there, right? But yeah, I think there's already this kind of preset notion that you've already got enough time as a father. So therefore, you kind of doing something for yourself. Don't you already have time to do that in your own spare time? You know, whatever this little thing that you're doing. And I think this is where communication definitely comes into it. And this is not a whole thing of, hey, look, you need to communicate when you're in a relationship. It's the way in which you're communicating, how you communicating what this particular thing is to you, and how important it is to you, and what it means to you, and why actually I'm going to stay up a bit later and finish this off, or why I'm going to miss going out, or actually I can't go out on this time and this date. You know, I think that's where it comes to. And I think to kind of answer your question, I don't think it's seen as okay for men to say, this is what I want to, this is something that I want to.
But what I'm saying is
go for
you're
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what I'm saying is we have a part to play as well. As you said, communication. I've heard too many times where it's like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you and the kids. You should be happy that I'm doing this kind of thing. And I've been a culprit myself of doing that until I realized that wasn't the way to put it across. What we need to start doing is explaining how much this project, this thing that I'm working on, how much it means to me as a person and how I need to do it for myself. Obviously, if it's successful, if it takes off, whatever it is, we'll all benefit from it. But for me to get up in the morning with the right motivation to take care of the kids, to help you, to do all that I do, I need to work on this as well. I need to have time to work on this as well. And I think that's lost sometimes because not many men are explaining it in that way. And some people may see purpose as just some la-di-da-di word that just gets thrown out there, that just sounds nice. But honestly, purpose is what keeps most of us going. It could be something so small, but it keeps most of us going.
I think there's a lot that comes from being a man and the natural things that we do. Like, for example, probably a generalization that maybe a lot of people won't agree with, but men, we're not always the best communicators. We're good at thinking in terms of like, this is what I'm going to do, and then we just run it without bringing the people along that are with us and letting them know the vision. And that's why maybe great leaders are people that can communicate what they want and make their vision kind of like visible, understandable by others. But when we have a passion, we have a mission, and we have like something that, for example, like I believe I'm good at this. How good are we at communicating that? And not just communicating that, communicating implications of that as well. Because if I'm saying to someone, I'm going to have to stop working because I want to pursue this passion of mine that I really think is going to kick off and I believe that's my purpose. And your wife's like, You want to leave your job where we pay the mortgage and we pay the bills and everything's just about okay. And you're telling me that we can no longer go on holiday because you want to pursue this passion? Nah. Yeah? They're telling you no, innit? Yeah. And I think sometimes, like, for example, I spoke to someone a couple of weeks ago and they said, you have to just have that frank conversation about, this is where I would like to get to for me, but I understand it has an impact on us. However, do also appreciate and do understand that if and when I do get there, we get there. Do you understand? How explicit can we make that? How, it's about being meaningful in what you're saying and then understanding the implications of this. If I say yes to this, what am I essentially saying no to? Do you understand? Like if I'm saying yes to my new passion, I'm saying no to my job that brings in a secured income that we know how much is going to come every month. And we're now saying yes to a potential income where we don't know.
I think that's another extreme. I think you can be sensible. You can have a purpose, but still be sensible. And I think you should be sensible. It don't mean because now that you think you're a computer programmer that you must just go and do that full time and leave your job. And no, we all got responsibilities. We should take care of those first, innit, and work on whatever we've got on the side. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to explain to our partners how it's going to look for us. Every detail, like how, me, I like the business analogy. Let's talk about it. Let's have a meeting. This is how it's going to be. Like, are you okay with that? Like, I might need you to pick up the kids on this day. I might need you to cook an extra few days a week. I might need to, how my passion, how my project is going to look on for us as a whole going forward. And once we can iron out those details, once we can negotiate and say, okay, all right, it's going to be that. All right, cool. I'm okay with that. You doing working an extra hour on it. Then we can move forward. And it might seem like it's a bit too much. Like, why are we talking about all these little intricate things? But that's the only way I feel you can move forward with that person on your side. Because if you're trying to pursue something and your missus is not on board at all, I guarantee you won't end up being successful in that. The only way you'll be successful is if you leave her. And that's the thing. Like, are you willing to do that? Do you want to have the nice family and the success in your project as well? Like, I feel like you have to have her on board. And depending on what the passion is, you may have to make a decision whether that's going to impact your relationship to where you may have to leave. That's up to the individual. But I think if you value both, then it's worth having the woman on board as well.
I think you're right, and I think it's important to note that it's a two-way street. When we talk in this way, it's more to do with we should both have a passion. And the same way I can get frustrated at work, I'm pretty sure my wife can get frustrated at work. And what's also her passion, our roles as husbands is also there to support as well, right? And we want to make sure that we can facilitate some of the things that they're interested in as well. But ultimately, you're right, there gets to this point where actually, am I being hindered somewhat from something that deeply within me I feel like is something that's going to be for me? And I think that's hard to shake off. That's a hard feeling to shake off. And I think, your point about getting buy-in and having them on board is true, because if not, something will suffer further on down the relationship, which will be there's a clear divide about actually he does his thing and I have no say in it. I don't even understand what it is this guy is doing, even though they're probably utilizing a lot of the fruitful things that come from this thing that you're doing in your spare time or in your office and whatever, because it's true. I think I think that has to get pointed out. Like I've seen it where certain parties are complaining about something, but actually they are benefiting from this thing that is taking up an obscene amount of your time. You're benefiting from it. The fact is, you may not be working because it's actually going that well. It may be that your children, you get the pleasure of actually spending all your time with your children actually as a mother, maybe, instead of actually not just seeing them in the evening and so on. But yet there's still a complaint because you're spending so much time doing this thing. And this is where I think you have to have them on board, because actually if they're on board, they understand, right, this is how our family's going to be set up because of this. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame when I hear that there's complaints because of it, because again, it's selfless. I'm pretty sure, and we've said it before, I'd much rather be at home with the kids. If I had my choice, I'd much rather be at home with the kids. But we can't. And actually, is that me fulfilling my purpose by doing that? No, that's just kind of like a fairy tale thing. I don't think my life is set up in a certain way that means I can stay at home with the kids all day. No, because there's things to go and do. There's things to achieve. And there's things that actually, like you said, Ads, when I get there, it's not all for me. It might have my name on it, but I tell you what, guess who benefits? Everybody. You know, not just my family, but those I'm doing it for as well.
I think that's right, 100%. But as I said, I think men make the mistake where they lead with that. They don't do the build up, like, okay, this is what's going to look like. And then at the end, you say, okay, it's going to benefit us. They lead with listen, this is going to benefit all of us, you know, so I don't want to hear nothing from you guys. And that's the end of the conversation. It can't.
Yeah. And it's done badly.
It's done badly. And it's like, okay, that's not going to land. Because when I switch it round, if my missus has got something she wants to pursue, and I'm all for it, I'm not of this traditional mindset where the woman has to do it. If my missus has got a project, I want to push her. I want to help her do it, whatever. But if she's coming to me and she's like, oh, well, you know what? And I'm asking questions about it, and I'm saying, okay, so logistically, if you're doing it on these days, what's going to happen with the kids and whatnot? What's going to happen with certain things? And she's like, well, you shouldn't need to worry because once I make it, then we're all good. I'll be like, no, nah, kind of thing. Do you know, like that? Because what do you mean? You could make it in 10 years, you could make it in 20, you could never make it. What do you mean? Like, for me to be on board, we have to understand, okay, this has to work. We have to have a plan in place for me to be on board. I'm not just going off when I make it. That's a fairy tale. To me, that doesn't mean anything. As much as I might believe in you, like, it doesn't mean nothing. Like, we still have to run a household. We still got kids to raise. So, I just think, you know, we need to have buy-in, as you said. You know, we have to communicate these things properly, man.
As it looks like it looks like something's touched you there.
No, 100%. It's so mad when you play that back because, it's mad for me because I think how many times do we, in our head, we think it's gonna bang. Don't worry, it's gonna bang, and then. Person on the other side of the table, like, this guy has lost it, you know. Brother, life must continue.
You know what? When you're passionate about something, when you got something in your head, you're passionate. You're just like, everything goes out the window. You're just like, listen, I know this one. Yeah, I'm telling you, this one's going to be the one that's going to take us out of the game. And you have to remember, that, as you said, the person sitting across the table from you might be thinking, okay, yeah, I'm behind you, but all right, cool, let's level it.
Like, my guy, like, let's
level it down a bit.
We still need to pick up the kids, you know. And I was there, like, and so when you say that, it's mad for me because I actually, this is what I saw. I saw many people who have a passion under the coats of purpose that couldn't communicate the practicalities of it, and that is what begets frustration. And I was just like, so when you were saying it, I was just thinking, that's mad, actually, because actually, if you came to me and you're telling me, and I'm hearing, okay, so what does this mean? And you're like, oh, no, don't worry. Like, you've lost it. You know?
I can't be on board.
Yeah, that's why we have to. I think part of this also is about actually trying to sit on the other side of the table and try and think, what does that sound like? Because it's true. Now you've said it. If we're, many a time I've probably been super passionate about why I think this plan is absolutely going to absolutely work, and I've thought of every eventuality. But now, if I sit on the other side of the table, and those who know me will know what I'm talking about, I've probably been extremely crazed as I'm speaking about it. I'm probably shouting about it. I'm probably saying, just trust me, like, it's gonna work, and actually, and that's, and I know why you're laughing, because you know what I'm talking about, right? That, I'm thinking, does that come across well? And does that come across like it's something that even makes, that even sounds like it's confidently going to get done? Or, am I sounding like I'm dreaming and being a fairy tale? If I'm
going to start a business with you, Stuart, I cannot come to you. We've been friends for years, bro. You trust me, I trust you. But at the same time, I cannot come to you and say, bro, I've got the thing, bro. Don't ask no questions. Just give me 10 racks. Just give me 10 racks. Oh. Yeah? And don't ask no questions, bro. I'm telling you, we're gone. You're going to be there saying, brother, I got love for you, bro. But listen, you need to come with this. You need to let me know what's going on, bro. Because I'm not just going to give you 10. And it's the same. It's the same thing.
I can't, It's
the same thing. Yeah. If that's your partner, if you signed up to marriage and that is your partner, you have to say to her, explain to her how much this means to you, how it's going to look for you as a family going forward. And then at the end, seal it with what are the potential monetary benefits that might come along with it. And whatever, then it's like, okay, I can get on board with this kind of thing. But when you lead with your ego and you're just like, listen, no one can't tell me that. This plan, I've spoken to this friend about it, I've spoken to that friend about it. They all think it's a good idea. Why can't you sit?
Yeah, spreadsheets.
It's like, wait, it's mad.
Do you know what? It's so mad. Like, if you sat lots of guys down, they'll just be laughing because they'll probably be able to resonate with what, like, all of us have gone with the banger. We've all gone with the banger.
I've done it. I've done it, bro. I've done it.
And the thing got shut down in 2 seconds. It was like, yeah, nah. To the point where you're like, hold on a second. Am I mug? Like, man's the man in this house, you know? And you're like, yeah, nah, sit down, you know? So, yeah, but I think, I also think as well, because I was gonna ask you guys as well, like, we talk about this phenomenon of big purpose. What about purpose in all the small things? So when I say small things, like just little day-to-day things in life, how do we apply purpose in that?
That purpose that you first acknowledge, I feel like that helps you to knock out all the small things in life. I feel like if your purpose is if you've got a big goal, let's say you want to own a football team one day, you don't just wake up the first day and then you own it the next day. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. It's the small steps that you take in between each, brick by brick. And I feel like that alone pulls you towards it. And that could encompass so many things. It could be like, you've got this big goal, but if you go to the gym, it will help you reach this goal better. Then in turn, if you eat better, that will that will get your mind better in order to reach that goal and whatnot. So I think, it's small steps. It's small steps at the end of the day.
I think you're right, and it all comes down to, there's a word I keep using, framework, and I feel like the framework, is what I think that's what separates the whole thing. That separates the madness from I'm walking in this defined direction, and I think that can be applied to both monetary goals, things you're trying to achieve. It could also come down to, I think, even how you parent as well. How is it, what do I want my kids to be like? What do I want them to, what kind of parent do I want to be towards them? What kind of relationship do I want to have? But even if you pick one of those things I've just mentioned and now try and apply a framework, you will come up, if you think long enough, there will be steps which come up in terms of how you can actively do things to make that actually happen. It might be that, I'll tell you what I'm going through at the moment. There's 15 months between my two kids, and despite that not being that much time, quite quickly I'm seeing that boy and girl, and that boys and girls are different. They're starting to separate quite quickly, and their personalities are very, very different. And if I'm honest, I feel like I'm playing a bit of catch up. So what I'm trying to do for myself now is put a framework in place, which means I can treat them both fairly, but treat them differently and still give them the same love. That still requires me to have some kind of blueprint, but small blueprint that I can apply to make sure I'm being the best dad to both of them, and not to alienate each of them at the same time. These kids are smart, right? I don't want any of them thinking that actually I'm giving unfair treatment to one of them and all the hugs and kisses to the other. it's small things like that. So when you to come back to what you're saying about how do you apply it to smaller things, I think it is about having a direction, So pick it. Is it your route to work? If you think about small things now, is it your route to work? You're constantly late, yeah. People look at you when you're walking into the office late. You're walking in there all sweaty, and actually they seem to notice you're late and you've got a Starbucks in your hand as well. There's something wrong with that. There's some. I personally think that's wrong. You're late. You forego that coffee, my friend. Yeah, and you go and deal with that another time. Yeah, but when you think about it, say your route to work. What's my purpose to get this done? I need to be there on time. Cool. Work backwards from there. I need to wake up a bit earlier. That's just the fact. I need to wake up a bit earlier. Maybe get the earlier train. It's things like that. So I think you can apply these things to. I think you can apply it to smaller things, and I think in turn, a bit like the whole muscle memory thing. I think that perfectly puts you in a position for when you do have a big challenge and something that's beating in your heart, saying, "I really think this is going to work." I think it helps you figure out what's the step one. And I think, like everything else, you take one step. First step's always the most difficult one. I always say first child's probably the most difficult one. I always say going from 0 to 1 kids is, for me, was mind-blowing and still is to this day when I think about the kind of growth you've got to go through to make it happen, especially when you're going to be an active parent. So I apply that to everything else. That's kind of how I see it.
Wow, you said something that resonated with me. That was pretty much, I think, that sums up the whole thing, which is you figure out the purpose and then you work your way back. And actually, I know it's very simple in the ways, like it's kind of like, but actually that is it. Like, you want to be somewhere in 5 years, or you want to be somewhere in 10 years, you work your way back. And actually, is that realistic? Is it smart? Is it a smart objective? If it's not, maybe you need to wiggle with the time scales a little bit more to figure out, how. And that's really key, actually, because one of the things I was going to even go on to next was, how do you continuously motivate yourself to continue wanting to pursue a purpose? Do you understand? Like, you get all sorts of setbacks.
I think the purpose has to be big enough, bro. It has to be big enough. I think it has to be a big enough, and it, as you said at the start, it has to not only benefit yourself, but mainly benefit other people. And that goes back to having responsibility. Those entrepreneurs, that have Fortune 500 companies that are employing thousands of people? They know that it's not about them. It gets to a stage, it's not even about them no more. They've got people relying on them. They might not feel like getting up in the morning. They have to get up. They have to get up.
Yeah. Oh, it's mad.
They have to get up. They've got responsibility now. And I feel the more good responsibility you do have, the better. The better, man. Even like for even as simple as family life. There's some days I don't want to get up, bro. I feel like having a line. No, you can't have a line. No, you can't do that. No, you can't. You've got responsibilities, bro. You need to make sure some things are in place now. That's why when people say kids change their life, it's true, because I went from having no kids to doing what I wanted to do to having kids, and like, okay, I need the ideas need to be different now. I haven't got a choice. If I like it or not, I haven't got a choice. Like, I have to, and we're not the kind of men to just walk out, whatever. So the other option is to man up and get on with it. That's just what it is.
And I think what you said is absolutely epic, in that you have to be accountable to your responsibilities, right? Because you can have responsibilities and neglect them. But actually, if you're accountable to your children, you're accountable to your wife, you're accountable to your community, your work, the more responsibility you have, the more you have to kind of like, I need to do this, and regardless of the result, whether you fail, whether you're successful, and this is by what people consider fail, by the way. I never see failure as anything bad, but an opportunity to learn something. It's about pressing forward for that North Star, and then like, it can be difficult. It's back to the main topic, the importance of purpose. If you have nothing to work towards, you're not working towards anything specific, it's hard. And we should never mistake people who say, "Oh, I didn't intend to do this, but I stumbled across this, and yeah, this is what I do now." Even those people have discovered purpose, and now it's like, yeah, this is what I've got to do. And I feel like everyone owes it to themselves to have something to work towards. I'm a firm believer that everyone is entitled to and should get to the level where what they're doing, they enjoy doing it and it has meaning. Otherwise, life becomes meaningless. Like you said, there's nothing to wake up for. You wake up, it's like, what am I doing? And actually, people get there, and that's where they get to the point where they feel like they don't need to be. Yeah, it's not worth it. Whereas all it takes, it could have taken a conversation of a day before for someone to say, "Look, this thing you did for me was amazing," and then they feel purposeful, right? I heard a saying where it says, as human beings, we all desire to be. We all have a desire of belonging. We desire to, be felt like someone needs us. And the moment that we don't, or the moment that we don't have a purpose, that's when we can start questioning whether our existence is actually relevant or not.
That's it. And yeah, it's true. You want to feel like you're making a dent into people's worlds, really. And I think the people that have that running through their veins, that they are the ones that have probably given us the things that we probably use the most. They've given us ideas that we use, the services we use, products we use, but they've had it through their veins that I have to impact someone's world or the world, I have to. That's what I'm trying to do.
I honestly believe it doesn't even have to be big. We're quite ambitious men, so we're talking about quite big goals and stuff like that, but I don't think it has to be that big. We all remember the lollipop lady that used to smile every morning when she's crossing the road, because her purpose in her head was she has to help these kids cross the road safely. Don't matter if it's for a couple hours a day. Doesn't matter how much she's getting paid. Doesn't matter. It could be the dad that goes to do Sunday league with the kids on the weekend, and that's his purpose. That's what he finds he's contributing. And I think with purpose, I feel like you need to feel like you're contributing to the bigger picture. And it could be anything. It could be helping clean the church. As you play guitar at your church and whatnot. Like, that's part of your purpose. I don't know if you get paid for it or not or whatever. I don't know the setup, but that contributes to your purpose. It doesn't mean that you're gonna forever, be the main musician in the church for the next 10 years. It doesn't mean that's gonna be the plan. But at this moment, that's fulfilling a purpose for you. And I think,
and
as long as we can find something.
Your duty. Yeah. And you've made it your duty. And I think, unfortunately now, I think there's been, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think the introduction of like material things now warps this concept a little bit. So the kind of pursuit of money and pursuit of material things, I think now warps this idea of doing things. If it's not for money, why would I do it? If it's not for getting or gaining this, why would I do it? And I think that's where it can kind of go a bit wrong. Like, it has to be something from like inside here that says, this is why I'm doing it, because I can see how this is going to either impact on a smaller scale, my family, or the wider community, or nationally, or whatever it may be. But I think because I think we're in a world now which is all to do with the show, all to do with money, all to do with material things. I think a lot of people kind of weigh up. Are people going to see that? Nah.
Well, you know what?
Let me drop that.
I can understand it, because there's a saying, I think it's from a philosopher, that says men go where the praise is. And it's true. We know we're marked off of certain things in life. Yeah. As much as it sounds good to pursue all these purposes and whatever, there's an underlying theme where it's like, most men want to be successful. Most men want to have status. Most men, and because we know that's what we're marked off. Fortunately or fortunately, either way you look at it, it's just a fact. That's the way, and that's why a lot of men put pressure on themselves, and even, you know, when they don't get certain roles or they lose jobs, you know, they put even more pressure on themselves to, you know, and feel like they're not worth anything because they're tied to that occupation.
This is exactly what I touched on right at the beginning around identity, yeah, and it's a good segue into it because I feel like the two things are linked, like purpose and identity are linked, and I don't think they're sometimes looked at as things which are on the same page in the same book. They're sometimes looked at, identity, I kind of get what identity means. It's how I look, or it's how I sound, or how people perceive me. And then you talk about purpose, and we're now talking about this massive discussion around where are you going, what direction you're going in. But they're actually more linked than you think. You know, identity. If you attach yourself to this thing, you now consume that as your identity, and now I feel like you now have inherited a pressure to maintain this identity, but it's not your identity. It's attached to this thing that you have in your hand. You know, don't be attached to that. You know, if it's material things or the way in which you like live your life, don't be attached to that. That's a lifestyle. That's not you. It doesn't have your name on it. You don't own it. You can't die with it. You can't give it away. These are things which are just things you own. And I think sometimes work can sometimes make you this way. People get so hung up on like job titles and I'm this and I'm that. But don't assume that as your identity. The moment you do that, I think you're fully locked in to their vision, not your own. You now assume you've now transformed into your job title. And because you've transformed into your job title, you bring that home. And actually, you bring your job title around your kids. You bring your job title around your wife. You bring your job title around your parents and your closest and nearest and dearest. And these are people that are probably, for the best part, been with you before you had this job title, by the way. You know, you weren't this person before. You know, me and Ryan met at a like some kind of like summer action. It was called Summer Action, right? At a school down in South London, right? And that's how I'm trying to think now. Where we were at that point is miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away from where we are now. You know, and if we think about all the things that we've probably gone through in life, if we attached ourselves to certain things or certain lifestyles, I would hate to think that someone would look at me and say, "That's Stuart. Yeah. That's not me. That's something I was doing at that time. Yeah, that's not me." You know, identity is a massive thing, and that's why when you think about things like an identity crisis, right? It's a phrase that is thrown around. You know, when you talk about things like midlife crisis and stuff like that, right? These are things which are thrown around, but I'm telling you, look into it properly. Midlife crisis and identity crises, yeah. These are things which are so serious, and it all comes from a meltdown up here. It's a meltdown that you can't connect yourself to. You connect yourself to something. You can't connect yourself to either what you're doing. You can't connect or take yourself away from this thing you've got in your hand, or this lifestyle that you live, or this material things that you've got, or the money. I think you just start thinking that you're just here. That's what makes you have sleepless nights. You know, I think.
I think there's so much power in what you both said around identity, purpose. And I think, I can't remember who said it. I think one of the things that we mentioned before during the conversation was around your purpose can sometimes evolve. You might not have the full picture of your purpose in the beginning. Like no one was born and they were like, yo, this is me. Like you think sometimes it's a case of figuring it out. And actually, I think you're absolutely correct, because the environments that we are in and how the world moves forward means that we have to be adaptable as individuals. We have to place ourselves in a certain environment and the community that we're in. So a bus conductor, when we were going to school, and the route master might have found purpose in being a bus conductor, but will be so shocked that in today's society has no place, because we don't have route master buses, nor do we have bus conductors. But he's not coined by the identity of that. And actually, if he finds purpose in being able to offer a service to people and whatever else, when things become obsolete, when life changes, your purpose doesn't. And so actually you find meaning in either evolving as an individual, getting further clarity as you move forward. So you might know that, okay, after 3 to 5 years, this is what you're doing. You get to a particular point, you're like, all right, so that's why I did some of that before. And then you evolve more, and actually it comes from self-awareness, self-learning, increasing, never stopping. I think the moment we stop, or the moment we don't have enough momentum to keep moving forward,
that is the one.
It's the bit where it's like, that's when it starts getting scary. And actually a lot of people have stopped. That's the reality of it.
That is the one right there. When we realize that we're not built to stop. That's the thing. We're not. Sometimes we put these things. When I get to here, I'm gonna have. There's that thing where people are like, yeah, when I'm a millionaire, I'm just gonna be lying on a beach and drinking mojitos and stuff like that. It's fake, bro. It's just a dream, because it's like you can win the lottery and do that, but we're not built to sit on a beach, lay on a beach for the rest of your life. You will get bored after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it's like, we're built to constantly be improving, constantly be leveling up. And once you realize that there's no matter how much money you get, there's no end, bro, until you're in the ground. So you won't even know when the end is, bro. You won't even know because you'll be in the ground. That's just it. There's no end until you're there. Like, we just have to keep moving, have to keep growing until that day comes. And when people realize it's that, then life will be much better, man. Life will be much better for a lot of people.
I think there's something you said, and I always say it, like, I want to get to the point where, and some people are like, oh, I say I want to die empty, and they say, oh, you mean you want to die full? Like, no, I want to die empty. I want to have squeezed out everything. Like, what am I dying full for? Like, no, that's long. I want to have squeezed out everything that I need to give to humanity. And then when I'm ready to just go back to the ashes, it's like, yeah,
that's it.
Finished my work now. Like, done what I needed to. And I think, like, what was more powerful, and I really wanted to take way back, but I didn't want to, like, kind of just go all the way back. There's so much power in what you said around being purposeful in your small community. Like, if we didn't have the lollipop lady, if we didn't have the man that did play center after school,
exactly.
We're in school, like, or if we didn't have the canteen lady, like, some of these things, we take, like, when we are young, we're immature in it, so we laugh at these things. But trust me, if these people were not in that environment to do that, we wouldn't be here as individuals, pretty much. Do you understand?
And bro, if you realize, when you're growing up, as I said, everyone knows that lollipop lady. Everyone, even if you don't live in the same area, you all have a lollipop that was smiley, that was happy, that was, because
rain or shine.
The most happiest people I've ever met, bro. I'll be honest with you, they haven't had money. They just worked in random jobs, but for some reason they found their purpose in what they were doing. They found meaning in what they were doing. They've told themselves, I'm the one to do this job. I'm going to do it to my fullest. And what I'm doing is helping others around me.
Exactly. All they had it in other areas, and all we saw was them at work. But actually, outside of work, they're full. They're completely full with something that's, engaging, taking their time, taking the stress away, and something that they're happy doing. And
you can see, bro, sometimes when I'm at, like, the guy that cleans around my area, bro, this guy is happy all the time, bruv. All the time. And you can see when he's cleaning, he's putting blood, sweat, and tears into it. And we would look at it as, bro, you're working too hard, bro, for what you're doing. But for him, he's told himself, this needs to be done. And without these people, where would we be? Where would we be? We would overlook their roles in society, but, they play a big part.
And I think in conclusion, Ryan, you've said it. It's about finding meaning in what you do, right? For it to be purposeful. I think there's not much more to be said apart from that, find meaning in what you do, or do what you need to do meaningfully, like so that it is purposeful, and it doesn't matter which one comes first. I think, yeah, that for me, it's going to be ringing in my head. Find meaning in what you do. Like, if that's one thing people take from today, that's the thing.
I think it's
find meaning in it. Like, it's mad.
And not to be scared to try things. Like, I'll be honest, at this moment in time, I feel like this podcast that we're doing is talking to me as if it's my purpose, and I feel like it's my purpose. But who's to say it is? You know what I'm saying? I'm open to knowing that I've got God willing, a long life ahead of me, and there could be many things. This could just be the start of things. Who knows what it's going to be in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So I don't think people should get too hung up on, I haven't found my purpose yet, what should I do? I think it's just about trying things. It's just about, if you have an interest in something, try it. Because you might have an interest in salsa. You go to salsa, you meet your wife flipping, then it's true though, these little things are mad. It's mad. That's life for you, bro. You go to salsa, you meet your wife, then your wife takes you, then your wife's got a rich uncle who's into construction, and then that's your, like, who knows, bro? Like, who knows? But I think we should start by just doing things that interest us, and you can't go wrong from there.
Mate, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I think you banged it.
Try.
Right.
That's
top
it.
corner, mate. Top bins. I'm
telling you.
Just banging. So dope, man. I think so much to take from this conversation that for me it's going to even contribute to how I do things every day. And I think that's the motive of us having and conversing, right? What's the key takeaways here? And for me, it's just bringing meaning to everything I'm doing, number one. I think number two, communicating that meaning to the people around me and making that meaning practical as well, I think was the second big thing I'm taking away. And I think the third thing that I took was around the fact that your purpose is continuously evolving. You don't need to know everything today, but you just need to keep moving.
We're all working towards, we're all relatively young. We're all relatively young. As much as we speak like we're old heads, we're all young. Hopefully we've got another at least 3 times, our age to go. Yeah. So we've all got a lot of learning to do, a lot of purposes to fulfill. But Ads, we appreciate you coming on again.
As always, yep.
Ads, if they didn't know already, tell them what you're doing, where they can follow you, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I think my main space at the moment is on LinkedIn. There's Ade Amadi, or you'll probably put it there, but I've got Circulate as well, which is a page on there. Like I said, hair coaching, help people find their purpose, right? Help you to kind of really dig into what you're supposed to do and get you to enjoy it. That's one of my main things in life. And so I always try and use that in whatever I'm doing. So that's what I'm here for, really.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Appreciate it.
No, we appreciate it once again, definitely. And guys, look, we appreciate the love and support we're receiving at the moment. We're getting tons of we had a few funny messages coming through actually about things that people want to hear us talk about. So yeah, we'll get around to that definitely. But look, like, share, and subscribe to the video. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. You can go and find us. We're on YouTube. Look at all the previous episodes as well. Try and link. Listen to them in full, and try and link everything that we're trying to say together, because they're all different topics, and we're enjoying it. And yeah, thank you for the support.
So guys, as Stu said, like, share, and subscribe.
Get clicking, guys.
Until the next episode, we're out.
In a bit.